A returned Jedi just hit a milestone. Here's a look at the Diamond Select Gentle Giant Limited Star Wars Milestones Luke Skywalker 1/6 scale statue. Luke Skywalker was a Tatooine farm boy who rose from humble beginnings to become one of the greatest Jedi the galaxy had ever known. Along with his friends Princess Leia and Han Solo, Luke battled the evil Empire, discovered the truth of his parentage, and ended the tyranny of the Sith. Designed and modeled and prototyped using top-of-the-line 3D technology, this 1/6 scale statue represents the next in their new generation of the ongoing Star Wars saga. Each statue is hand-cast, hand-painted, and hand-numbered with a limited edition certificate of authenticity. Just before Luke has to deal with any daddy issues, let's go ahead and grab the tape measure and see how tall the milestone statue of Skywalker stands. While I'm doing this as well, I'd like to thank the folks over at Diamond Select that did provide this sample we could have a look at. Luke Skywalker on top of his display stand stands impressively at 12.5 inches in height, or the statue is going to be about 31.5 centimeters tall. As always the case, the statue does come included with a trading card that also serves to be a certificate of authenticity. Though to the front of the card, we do have a smaller image of Luke Skywalker wielding his green-bladed lightsaber. Down below that, we've got Star Wars Luke Skywalker 1/6 scale statue, a collaboration between Gentle Giant and Diamond Select. Flip though around to the back, you have now a certificate of authenticity, indicating that the Luke Skywalker 1/6 scale statue, in the case at least provided to me, is 1,114 out of a very limited run of 2,000. The statue only consists of 3 parts: the main display stand, Luke Skywalker that would stand of course on top of that, and a green bladed hilt of the lightsaber that will attach inside his hand. First though, carefully picking up the display stand, it seems to be depicting the inside of the Death Star, leading up to the final moments of Luke having to battle the Emperor, and we all know what ends up happening. The detailing done to the display stand looks rather nice. It's not simply just a dark black display stand. In fact, actually, at play here, there seems to be some darker grays along mixed here with blacks. You probably notice already there's a couple of holes there that will be for Luke Skywalker's feet that will plug into place, and a few little struts there I'm sure will serve as sort of being the handles, basically where Luke Skywalker is standing. It's a very simple looking stand, but very still effective. Flip around to the bottom of it though, you are treated to several rubberized feet to prevent scratching on surfaces, but also of course to raise the surface of this from wherever place you have this displayed so that it doesn't accidentally rub the numbers off. And as we had already looked at before with certificate of authenticity, once again listed as 1,114. You would like to think that the numbers will match, and yes, the numbers do match this time around. Put the display stand down, and then of course we do get ourselves Luke Skywalker, very carefully picking this up of course. Luke Skywalker, before we of course put him down onto the display stand of course will then just accommodate the 2 posts on the undersides of at least only one of Luke's feet, and that's just going to line up to the holes that we've already had a look at. Before of course doing that, I did want to show you guys what the head sculpt looks like for Luke Skywalker. Overall, I'm really quite happy with how this one did turn out. I will though say that the coloring of his lips seem maybe a little tad too dark and pink. But overall, I think the head sculpt is handled quite well here for Luke. It does certainly look, I feel, like Mark Hamill from the film, this now being the 3rd of the trilogy, before, of course, we get to the prequels and the later trilogies later. Luke Skywalker, of course, now in this case, is actually wearing his black Jedi outfit, which is actually really more a robe, and actually more so like a onesie that he wears. He does have, of course, a belt buckle along with the belt, a few little things that would be normally there to hold and house, say, for example, the lightsaber, but the lightsaber hilt, at least the back end of it, is already housed in the inside of his hand. He does have a couple of pockets there also as well. There really isn't a lot of paint as much as they really did afford to the face and the hair, because again, he only has just a black outfit. I will say though, while it doesn't have as much of the paint other than just really black, I do really like the sculpting and the way that the wrinkles naturally drape on his body. Further down from that, of course, we do have him with his black boots. There's a little bit of lighter adding of paint there, just to kind of add a little bit of wear, and just going to break it up a little bit too, so it's not simply just the same consistent black all the way down. Sculpting of the boots is handled again quite well. You got the stitching down below here. It's a really, again, well sculpted statue with really, again, not a lot of paint really happening. I think where it counts at least is obviously just the face. And again, I think the face for what it is handled quite good. Maybe a little bit, again, too rosy, I think, in the lips, but I think it captured a decent likeness to Mark Hamill. Now we can go ahead and actually take the figure, and what we'll do is we'll line the feet up carefully, because of course the one thing with metal posts is if you are putting onto a display stand, for example, you want to really make sure that you're lining up correctly. You don't want to put it in the wrong place, for example, and slide it back, because of course there's always the risk that it may scratch then the surface of the base. Now he does also have the green bladed lightsaber, one of my favorite, if not my favorite color of lightsabers. I liked blue, but I thought green was handled a lot cooler. The green blade hilt, as you can see, or the hilt down below here, but the green blade is made more of a translucent plastic. Whereas more as this is a heavier kind of resin material, the actual lightsaber itself feels like it's actually just cast in plastic. You can see kind of like the way I'm waving my hand behind it. The hilt, fairly small compared to really the scaling of the statue. But again, I think the hilt is handled quite good as well. You got the black banding there, as well as additional gold that's added more to the end of the hilt, before, of course, the projection of the beam blade out from the end of it. Now this does, though, fit into Luke's hand. Maybe for that, and I'll actually just pick the statue back up here. What you'll do is you'll take the post that's on the end here, and you'll line it up into then the hole. The thing I will say about the lightsaber, first of all, is it's more prone, I feel, to falling out. Even if you kind of twist it, you will be wanting to kind of make sure you're not moving the statue around. Because I've noticed the times that I have put the lightsaber in, I don't think it's a unique way either. Like, it's not necessarily a designated shape of where it's like a half circle, for example. It seems to be a complete circle all the way around. And yet, though, fitting it in his hand, I feel like the lightsaber does sit a little on the looser side. So you will want to just be careful that you're not moving the statue around, because you really wouldn't want the lightsaber to fall out of his hand. The only other thing I will say, though, is I'd have to go then back and look at the movie again. But I feel like his hand should be a little bit further up the hilt. I mean, it's only just on my own personal opinion. I feel like the hand should probably be a little bit further up the hilt, not having as much excess from the front, and maybe a little more on the back. And then from there, of course, maybe what I'll do is take the lightsaber out of his hand for right now. We're going to put it back carefully onto the display stand, line up the holes, and we'll just fit his feet in place. And then, of course, we'll go ahead and take the lightsaber and fit that back then into his hand. The only other thing I'll say, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about this when we get to the final looks of the statue, is I also find, like with Luke, I'm going to just carefully turn him sideways, that the figure, and I'm sure it's based on the way he's standing in the movie, that he seems to be a little bit more leaning forward. I've got the feet completely embedded into the actual display stand, and yet it seems like Luke's leaning just a little bit more further forward. I don't feel in the sense that it's going to be falling forward, in the sense, of course, that Luke's going to fall off the display stand altogether, but it is just one observation I did notice, though. All in all, it's a good-looking statue of Luke Skywalker. If you are a big fan of Return of the Jedi, I personally feel it's the best of the trilogy. I know many people would say Empire Strikes Back, but for me, I always liked Return of the Jedi more, just from the time in which I was that age. I was really kind of getting into Star Wars. I was way too young to really appreciate Empire until I was a little bit later in life, but I really was a big fan of Return of the Jedi. And this is, for me at least, one of my favorite looks, if not my favorite look for Luke Skywalker, wearing the all-black clad outfit that he wears. And of course, the green bladed lightsaber. Really job well done by the folks over at Diamond Select. Now, I do believe this is the second milestone Star Wars statue we've looked at here on this channel. Already earlier looked at the Imperial Stormtrooper, and I was a big fan of how that one turned out as well. The thing I like also about the fact that the milestones are a 6-scale format. If you already are one that's collecting 6-scale figures, even though these aren't necessarily ones that are going to have possession of posability, I feel like they are still at least in line that if you are one that likes to collect all the things sort of in the same scale, these milestone statues that Diamond Select and Gentle Giant have been doing not only look great on the shelf, but they're, again, of that same size. Again, Luke Skywalker doesn't have much in the way of assembly, which is probably a good thing. The less parts mean there's less chance the things to break. Still, though, I am a little worried about the way that the lightsaber hilts into his hand, just because, again, I found the peg doesn't fit as securely as I would hope. Other than that, though, I think the likeness is certainly there. I think the color's well handled. And even though, again, I feel like maybe the colors of his lips are maybe a little bit too bright of a pink, I think all in all, from head to toe, it's a nice looking Luke Skywalker statue. What do you guys think of it? Let me know down below in the comments section, and have you had the chance to pick up any of the milestone statues from Diamond Select? If you have, which ones have you gotten? Let me know down below in the comments section. Once again, a big thank you to the folks over at Diamond Select that did provide the sample of the Star Wars Milestones 1/6 scale Luke Skywalker statue. It's a bit of a mouthful. If you guys enjoyed this video, want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you certainly do want to stick around for more, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, and that you're also as well turning on the bell notification. Wait, what? You want to check out some more statue reviews and other things from Diamond Select? Well then, popping up also shamelessly plugging playlist times 2. Popping up at the very end of this video will be, in fact, 2 playlists. One for statues, one for Diamond Select. So if you have a little bit of time on your hands, feel free to give those a gander. And of course, make sure you're coming back on a regular basis. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.